So think about this for a second. You know those tasks at work or maybe in like a volunteer group you're in, the ones everyone agrees, yes, someone needs to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like organizing the office holiday party or taking really detailed meeting notes or serving on that committee that feels maybe a little bit thankless sometimes?
Yeah, the necessary but maybe not so glamorous stuff.
Exactly. They're essential for keeping things running smoothly, but, when they ask for volunteers, sometimes silence.
That awkward pause.
Right. We actually have a term for these. Low promotability tasks, or LPTs. They really help the organization. The whole group benefits, but here's the kicker.
Mhm.
They almost never lead to a promotion or a raise or, that glowing comment in your performance review. They're just this vital, often kind of invisible work that has to get done.
Invisible is a key word there.
It really is. And here's where it gets, well, quite frankly, a bit concerning. Research, study after study, shows this pretty significant pattern. Women are way more likely to volunteer for these LPTs. They're asked more often, and maybe crucially, they tend to accept those requests more often, too. I mean, there are big studies, like one by Babcock and her colleagues, showing women in universities spending way more time on committees than men.
Right, I've seen that research. It's pretty consistent across different fields, too.
And the long-term effect of this difference, it's not just about who brings the cupcakes, right? It can really stack up. It can lead to these systemic gaps in career paths.
Yeah, like fewer women ending up in leadership roles.
Exactly that.
Mm.
And potentially contributing to the gender wage gap over time. It's this sort of quiet problem that can really hold people back.
It really can.
So if this is such a stubborn issue, what can actually be done? I mean, is there a fix? That's our mission today on the Deep Dive. We're going to explore some really fascinating new research.
Okay.
It asks this critical question. Can we use non-monetary approaches, specifically something called social recognition, to maybe shrink this gender gap in LPTs? And maybe even make things run more efficiently overall?
It's a great question.
All right, let's dive in and unpack this.
Yeah, it really is this invisible work problem, and you've nailed why it matters so much. The research tends to define these LPTs by three main things.
Okay, what are they?
So first, they often fall outside the main job, the core mission of the organization. They're not usually central to the primary business goals.
Got it. Peripheral but necessary.
Exactly.
Okay.
Second, and this is important, they typically don't require some special skill that's directly tied to advancing your career. Like, you don't need an MBA to organize the potluck.
Right. Makes sense.
And third, they're often invisible, which means, not many people actually know who's doing them or how much effort they really take.
Oh, I think we've all been there. Either doing that work ourselves or maybe seeing a colleague just, plugging away at it.
Definitely.
That feeling when you're sorting out the departmental lunch order, knowing it's not going on your review, but hey, someone's got to do it. The unsung hero stuff.
Absolutely. Or the classic, like, who's going to tackle the overflowing recycling bin? Essential, yes.
Yeah.
Thankless, often. Building your core skills? Probably not.
Huh, yeah, exactly.
So if you've ever felt like you're doing vital work that just flies under the radar, chances are you've dealt with LPTs. They're like the hidden gears keeping the machine running.
Okay, so to really get at this dilemma, the researchers, they set up this clever experiment. It was like a real-world game based on something called the volunteer's dilemma.
Ah, yes, the volunteer's dilemma, a classic in game theory.
Right. So imagine you're in a group of 3 people. If one person steps up and invests, that means volunteers for the task, that volunteer gets 300 mohars, the pretend money they use.
Okay, 300 for the volunteer.
But the other 2, the ones who didn't volunteer, they each get more, 900 mohars.
Ah, so there's an incentive to let someone else do it.
Precisely. But here's the twist. If nobody volunteers, then everyone in the group gets just 100 mohars, a really low amount.
So you personally want someone else to volunteer. But the group as a whole is better off if someone does, and much worse off if no one does.
You got it. It captures that LPT tension perfectly. Now, in their first run, the baseline condition, they had people use these fake names, but names that were clearly gendered, like Robert or Sarah.
Okay, so they could track gender differences.
Exactly. And the findings. Well, they pretty much confirmed what other studies found. Women were significantly more likely to volunteer, to invest, than men were.
How much more likely?
About 48% more, which worked out to women being 10 percentage points more likely to be the one volunteering. So yeah, the baseline showed the gap clearly.
Okay, so the problem exists in this setup too. Now, why not just, pay more for these tasks. Wouldn't that solve it?
That's a great question, but it's tricky.
Right, because if you suddenly offer a big bonus for organizing the party, well, it's not really low promotability anymore, is it? It changes the very nature of the task.
Exactly. You're fundamentally altering what it is.
Plus, the existing research doesn't really suggest that men and women value money so differently that just upping the pay would automatically close that gap. Sure, more people might volunteer overall, but the ratio might stay the same. It doesn't necessarily fix the equity part.
Okay, so if more money isn't the simple answer, what did this research look at instead?
This is where it gets really interesting. They focused on social recognition.
Social recognition. What does that mean exactly?
It's basically a non-monetary incentive. It works by influencing how people behave based on their visible status, like within their group. It can be positive, think, praise or rewards, or negative, like a penalty or disapproval.
Okay, using social status as a motivator.
Precisely. And its power has been shown in lots of different situations, not just work.
And the experiment tested this really thoroughly, right? With different setups.
They did. They had 4 main conditions or treatments. First was that baseline we just talked about.
Yeah.
Fake, gendered names, no explicit recognition. That just set the scene, showed the initial gap.
Okay, baseline established. What next?
Then came positive social recognition. Let's call it treatment smiley face.
Ah, okay.
Here, if you volunteered, your real name, not the fake one, popped up on everyone's screen. And it came with a nice message and a smiling emoji.
Oh, interesting. Real names matter.
Big time. But wait, there's more. They also played a public audio clip of applause throughout the entire lab room.
Applause. Wow, okay, so really making it public and positive.
Definitely amplifying the recognition. Then they had negative social recognition, or treatment frowny face.
Uh-oh. What happened there?
In this one, if you didn't volunteer, your real name was shown on screen with a disapproving emoji. Critically, they didn't announce who did volunteer. It was all about highlighting the non-volunteers.
Oh, interesting tactic, focusing on the negative social consequence.
And finally, there was the combined positive and negative recognition. Treatment smiley frowny.
So, best of both worlds. Or worst.
Well, here, volunteers got the positive treatment, the smiley, the applause,
Yeah.
and the non-volunteers got the negative, the frowny emoji next to their real name.
Covering all bases. Now, you mentioned they also did a version with real names, but no emojis or applause.
Yeah, they call that baseline RR for real names. It was a useful comparison, but they really focused on the fake name baseline as the main control. Why? Because it let them cleanly isolate the added effect of the smiley faces, the frowns, the applause, the explicit social signals.
Right, to make sure it wasn't just using real names that made the difference.
Exactly. The key was using real names plus that public display, visual and audio. That's what made it truly social, hitting people's sense of status in the room.
Okay, so connecting this back to the bigger picture, what happened to overall efficiency? Did more tasks get done?
Yes, significantly more. If we look at the big picture, all the social recognition treatments, positive, negative, and combined, led to a noticeable jump in the chance that any one person would volunteer.
How big a jump?
It increased by about 3.9 to 6.3 percentage points compared to that baseline condition. Put simply, tasks just got completed more often.
That sounds promising.
It is. And the chance that at least one person of the group volunteered, that shot up too. From about 74% in the baseline to somewhere between 85% and 91% in the social recognition groups. That's a substantial boost in just getting things done.
Okay, that's a solid win for efficiency, getting more of these necessary tasks completed. But the real bombshell, the core discovery here, was about the gender gap.
Absolutely. This is where the findings get really powerful, especially for equity.
So what happened?
In 2 of the treatments, the positive social recognition, 1, and the combined positive and negative 1, the gender gap in volunteering completely disappeared.
Disappeared. Like gone.
Gone. Statistically, men and women volunteered at the same rate in those conditions. The long-standing difference just vanished when positive recognition was involved.
Wow. That's huge. We talk so much about how persistent this gap is, and here's a non-monetary nudge that seems to just erase it.
It's incredibly promising. But it's important to note what didn't work as well on the equity front.
Right, you mentioned not all treatments were equal. What about the negative-only one? The frowny face?
Yeah, in the negative social recognition treatment, where only non-volunteers were called out, the gender gap remained. Women were still volunteering significantly more than men, about 37% more, or 8 percentage points higher likelihood.
So just shaming people for not volunteering didn't level the playing field between genders?
Apparently not. The big takeaway seems to be that positive social recognition, whether it's used by itself or alongside negative feedback, is the key. It effectively tackles that gender disparity in LPTs while also making sure more tasks get done overall. It's like a double win,
In-
efficiency and equity.
That's fascinating. But, it feels almost too simple that just adding a smiley face and some applause could change such an ingrained pattern. How did the researchers try to figure out why this worked? What was the mechanism underneath it all?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And they did dig into that with some further analysis. The key thing they found, the main reason the gender gap closed in those successful treatments,
Yeah.
was because men significantly increased how much they volunteered.
Oh, interesting. So it wasn't women volunteering less.
No, women's volunteering rates were pretty stable across all the conditions.
Right.
It was the men who changed their behavior most dramatically in response to the positive and combined social recognition. They were about 5 to 12 percentage points more likely to volunteer in those treatments compared to the baseline.
So men started stepping up more, meeting women where they were. That's a really crucial detail. How does that fit with, behavioral science generally?
It fits quite nicely, actually, with existing research on gender and competition. Think about it. In the baseline game, people were basically competing for money.
Yeah,
Who gets the 900 mohars versus the 300?
right. A purely financial competition.
But when you add social recognition, the applause, the public acknowledgement, you introduce a second thing to compete for. Status, approval, looking good in front of the group.
A non-monetary prize.
Exactly. And research often finds men, on average, tend to be more responsive to competitive environments. So they started competing, not just for the money, but also for the social reward. The game changed, and their behavior changed with it.
It's like adding a social status leaderboard alongside the financial one. What about those emojis, though? The smiley and frowny faces. Were they just like telling people this is good and this is bad? Or was it more emotional?
That's a really sharp point.
Yeah.
It's possible the emojis acted as signals for social norms, like what you should do. But the researchers lean towards a different idea.
Okay.
They suggest that the emojis plus the public applause, plus using real names, all that together, likely worked more by tapping into people's affective state, their emotions.
Like pride or maybe embarrassment.
Exactly. That immediate gut feeling of being publicly praised or maybe subtly shamed. It seems like that direct emotional hit, that effective audience effect, was a stronger driver than just a cognitive signal about rules or norms. It hits our basic human desire for approval.
Okay, so this experiment has some really practical takeaways, doesn't it? What are the actionable things organizations could do based on this?
Definitely. The research suggests that organizations really ought to consider using these kinds of non-monetary incentives, like social recognition, to make LPTs feel more worthwhile.
What might that look like in practice?
Well, the study gives examples like sending out public emails that don't just list committee members, but actually praise the value of their service, explicitly acknowledging the contribution.
Okay, making the praise specific and visible.
Right. Or maybe giving out small awards or certificates in public settings, like team meetings or even company-wide events. Even simple things like putting up posters or banners celebrating contributions could have an effect.
And the potential benefit is twofold, right?
Exactly. It can boost efficiency, more of that necessary work gets done, and crucially, it can help reduce those gender gaps, promoting better equity. It seems like a win-win approach.
But it can't be quite that simple, surely. Are there nuances or potential downsides we need to consider?
Oh, absolutely. It's important to be clear here. First, even though social recognition makes these tasks more visible and maybe more appealing, the researchers are careful to say it doesn't magically turn an LPT into a promotable task.
Right. It's still not leading a major project.
Exactly. These LPTs often still lack those other key features, like being central to the main business or building really specific career skills. Think about writing the departmental newsletter. Giving someone kudos for it is great, increases visibility, but it's probably still viewed as an LPT compared to, say, landing a major client.
That makes sense. It levels the playing field for these tasks, but doesn't necessarily change their fundamental nature in the career hierarchy.
Precisely. Another nuance is about the effect itself. The study saw this immediate, effective audience effect, that boost of feeling good right after being recognized.
That immediate satisfaction.
Right. But does that also translate into building a longer-term reputation? Like, does consistently volunteering for recognized LPTs make people see you as generally more helpful or pro-social over time,
Yeah.
that's still an open question for more research.
Yeah, the difference between a quick emotional boost and building lasting social capital.
Exactly. And maybe there's a risk, too. If you make these things too visible, could it create pressure? Or maybe resentment if someone genuinely can't volunteer due to workload.
That's a really good point. Context matters. The organizational culture probably plays a huge role in how these things land.
Definitely. And finally, the researchers themselves acknowledge that not all LPTs are the same. For really small, minor things, taking quick notes in a huddle, maybe just randomly assigning it might be the fairest and easiest way.
Like a simple rota.
Yeah. But for bigger LPTs, organizing a significant internal event, leading a mentoring program, that's where social recognition probably has the most potential and makes the most sense. It's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. We've looked at this persistent, often invisible gender gap where women tend to take on more low promotability tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And we explored fascinating research showing that positive social recognition, like public praise, maybe some applause, using real names can effectively close that gap.
And boost overall volunteering at the same time?
Right. And the key mechanism seems to be that this positive recognition motivates men, possibly tapping into competitive instincts, to volunteer more, bringing their rates up to par with women's.
Yeah, competing for status, not just money.
So this deep dive really gives us a nuanced look at how behavioral economics can offer practical, non-monetary ways to boost both efficiency and equity in our workplaces and groups.
It's a powerful combination.
Definitely. So as you think about the different kinds of LPTs that exist, maybe in your own workplace or community groups, and you consider this power of recognition, here's something to chew on. How could organizations get really strategic about this? Could they maybe combine different approaches, use social recognition for those bigger, more visible LPTs, but maybe use rotating assignments or even, I don't know, a point system for the smaller everyday stuff?
Yeah.
How do you create real equity and efficiency without accidentally squashing people's natural desire to help or creating some new unforeseen problem?
That's the complex challenge, isn't it? Finding that perfect blend.
It really is something to think about.